Hello guys and welcome to a brand new video on my channel. Today we're going to be going through how Chelsea can have the perfect transfer window. This is a little bit of a weird video because, well, really you'd usually be doing this about a side who aren't in the best direction but could be going that way, whereas Chelsea, to be fair, are very well run and we're going in the right direction, which is really good to see. So this video is all about how we can build on that, who we can sell, who we can bring in, what's the budget like, and how the team could actually end up looking next season after some good moves. I did this on Barcelona the other day, and it's kind of easier to do it for that team because there's a lot of players who I think should be sold, some easy ones who should be coming in for the right prices, whereas Chelsea, you know, I kind of trust the board more. I trust them to make the right decisions. They're already making massive strides in the transfer market. The likes of Marina Granovskaya, the likes of Roman Abramovich, you got Frank Lampard in constant communication with them, and also Petr Cech, who's really, you know, in charge of the sporting directing side. So it's a good team going on right now at Chelsea, and whatever happens, I do trust them to make the right adjustments to the side, bring in the correct players, and at the correct price, and it's all down to them guys. But I thought I'd make this video. I wanted to make a video on Chelsea's transfer window. It's always really fun to talk about Chelsea's transfers, especially in a time like this, so I just thought I'd make a video, I'd give my thoughts, and let's get started. With the signings of Werner and Ziyech already made, discussing the transfer budget does become quite hard, but let's begin with the transfer budget because that is important, and well, it's important to know that Chelsea are in a wonderful position financially. It's that simple really. Chelsea have a lot of money, we do have a lot of finances, and we could actually have a lot more than most other clubs in Europe right now, and that's why you're seeing Chelsea have a free run at the likes of Kai Havertz, you know, Europe's most touted young player really. And this is what's happening now. This is an odd market. It's the new market with teams really low on funds. Top players like Werner, Ziyech and Havertz are just falling into Chelsea's arms, and well, Chelsea have a really large budget. It's that simple, you know. There are lots of reasons for this. One, with Chelsea, you know, we are a big club. We have a lot of money from qualifying for Champions League, winning Europa League, Premier League, you know, competition, going foreign cups, etc. There's a lot of money coming to Chelsea as it is. It's a big club, of course. Then you've got the fact that we've saved a lot of money from previous transfer windows, mainly because of the transfer ban. On top of massive player sales that we actually make a lot of money back into the club on top of our initial budget, which most clubs do not make. Most clubs just have the budget, they'll sell players here and there, but Chelsea not only have a large budget because of the fact we're a big club and we've got, you know, money saved over from a few windows, we also make massive player sales. I'm talking about nearly £200 million in the last year or so. Those sales include the likes of Eden Hazard, Alvaro Morata. Those prices keep on getting higher as well. The likes of Hazard, it's got a lot of variables on top, and we're getting more and more money for that almost every month. So there is a lot of money coming into Chelsea. Chelsea have a lot of money to work with in the budget. I think it could be, you know, without anything happening, 100 to 200 million. But this could also be increased, guys. We don't really know an exact figure because some things are different. You wonder whether Werner and Ziyech fall into last financial year and that this one that we're going to be dealing with now is completely different. There's a lot of different variables. It's quite hard to calculate, but I think right now it's important to note that Chelsea almost have as much money as they want. If the player's right, they'll pay for it, I think. And that's really the way to look at it. It won't be ridiculous, you know. I don't think we can sign, for example, Chilwell or Black, Havertz and Declan Rice. I think that's just too many big signings, but maybe two of those names, and then the other ones can be a little bit cheaper in the other positions. So with that being said, let's actually look at how Chelsea could start to shape the team and who are we going to sell in the summer. Number one, I would basically just be putting Kepa on the transfer market. Unfortunately, I don't know how much money we're going to be getting for the Spaniard. It could actually end up being a loan just to get rid of his wages, just to get him out of the squad for now. Maybe he could stay and we bring in someone cheap. Or we could get him a sale, but it would likely only be under £50 million. I think one of our centre-backs will leave, which I find quite interesting. We haven't been good at the back this year. Probably one of Christensen, Zuma or Tomori will be leaving. I think Rudiger is set in stone to stay. And if one of those players leaves, it'll probably be around 30 million. Look, I don't really know who I'd sell out of them. There were rumours about Tomori going on loan to someone at West Ham maybe. Zuma is probably the most likely to sell, but he's probably our best centre-back right now, so I don't think that's really a possibility. And as for Christensen, you know, you look after the Man City game, people were saying he's our best defender, and then a week later, he's definitely not our best defender, he's just poor. So I don't really know who's going to be going, but I think one of the centre-backs will probably leave, and that could be bringing in about 30 million, let's say. At left-back, I think Emerson's going to be sold, simply because Alonso gets, you know, a lot more versatility in his game. I think Lampard prefers him as a player. Emerson's fallen massively out of favour, and he's actually quite, you know, sought after by Italian clubs, so we could be getting around 20-25 million for the Italian. Jorginho, someone I've slapped in there. I don't actually think I would sell him in real life, but he's definitely an option, so I thought, you know, we're talking about Chelsea player sales this summer. let's put him in, it's only fair. He probably will be near the market. If Juventus are going to be paying, let's say, over 50 million, I think Chelsea would be definitely inclined to accept, but it's whether Juve will actually be doing that. You know, they've already signed Arthur for quite a lot of money. Yes, they got a lot back of that with a Pjanic sale, but Jorginho and Arthur are certainly different, you know, profiles of players, so that's someone Sarri will be looking at if he's still there, which he may not be, to be fair, come the next season. But hey, Jorginho I think will be near the market, but I can see him staying. But if he does go, expect a price around 50 million. And then two more players who are going to be going actually for money. I've put Ross Barkley here, someone who I think's had a pretty decent season, but I just look next season with Ziyech coming in, with Havertz coming in, maybe with another attacker coming in, on top of Mount and Loftus-Cheek. I just don't see a place for Barkley in Chelsea. I think it's worth a player like him going and getting some regular action. I really rate Barkley as a footballer. I think he struggles sometimes, but I rate his technical ability a lot. He's got a great shot on him. He's really good on both feet, and he's quite powerful as well. I quite like Ross Barkley. I don't know about you guys. Probably, you know, not the level that we'd be wanting for Chelsea, and that's obviously good. You know, it's positive that we're going in the right direction, but I think he's a valuable player. I just can't see him getting anywhere near the team next season, so it's probably best he moves on, and we could actually be making a bit of money out of him. And then finally I put in Batshuayi, similar to Barkley, probably around 25 million. And you think about it, Batshuayi and Barkley, two players who don't really play for Chelsea, both of them could be giving us about 50 million, guys. And you look further down the list when you get on later, the likes of the likes of Tagliafico, Onana, even Reguilon, you know, they're very cheap. We could be getting in two of these players for the price of selling Barkley and Batshuayi, so there's some money here for Chelsea. And look, we're also going to be probably departing with the likes of Pedro on a free, Willian on a free, and Chelsea's money, most of it anyway, won't actually be coming from player sales. You know, a few player sales will add a bit to the budget. We're already strong financially though, like we've seen. We're very strong financially, and I think in terms of player sales, it's not even so much about bringing in money, it's just so much about getting rid of players out of the squad. We need a room for other people to come in, you know. If Alonso or Emerson don't go, we can't sign another left back. It's that simple, really. So it's all about making room for other players now. If there's money added to the budget, great, but we're already strong financially. If we look about, you know, we could probably make near, I'd say 50, 70ish, maybe near 100 million if we're really lucky from player sales, on top of a massive budget, on top of how many other funds we've got there. The budget for Chelsea, like I say, it could be absolutely huge. And you think about how many players come out from loan who could be sold. I'm talking about Kennedy, Victor Moses, Bakayoko. We could be making about 30 to 50 million once more this year through the loan system. So there's money coming in from literally all angles for Chelsea. It's just about who do we want to spend it on, what's the best option, and that's what we're going to be discussing now. Because we've already got Werner, we've already got Ziyech, and that shouldn't even go into our budget for next season, which I found really, really interesting. You know, Chelsea, they've got these two massive players, and that probably won't even affect our spending for the summer, so that's really interesting. But I just feel that there are a few other players who we need to bring in, and there can actually be some money saved in certain positions, so let's take a look. I'm going to start with the goalkeeper position. There's been lots of links. I think Chelsea looking for a really good goalkeeper. They've had enough of, you know, risking it, and the Kepa deal certainly didn't work out in the end, so whether Chelsea go for a less experienced goalkeeper is yet to be seen. I think they definitely wanted to get someone like Oblak or ter Stegen. I just don't see it possible, not only financially but also in the sporting department. You know, I don't think either of them really want to leave their clubs, and of course they're a lot of money. So goalkeeper, I would go for Andre Onana. I really would. He's so cheap. He's £30 million, guys. Even could be less than that. I've heard it's 30 million euros. That's about £27.5 million, and for a goalkeeper like Onana, he's someone I really rate, and I don't know how much you can read into that. I really rated Kepa before he came to Chelsea, so anything can happen once we're in the Premier League. Anything. Your form could drop, it could go up, you just don't know, but I think it's a good bet, and it's a really cheap bet for Onana. If we're getting Onana for 27 million, we have possibilities to spend big in areas such as centre-back, such as, you know, Havertz, for example. And for me, that could be a massive benefit. At left-back, there's been a lot of names, as you'd expect. We spoke about the fact we need to sell before we buy. I'm hoping we can get about 20 million for Emerson, but hey, in terms of who we bring in, for me, it's quite clear. There's been a massive link to Chilwell, and the Chilwell situation is basically that Chelsea really want Chilwell. He's the #1 target, and that hasn't changed. The price tag, though, is just ridiculous for me. I can't justify Chelsea even spending over 50 for Ben Chilwell, and Leicester probably aren't even going to come below 60, and that's an absolute push. So for me, there's no way we should be going for Chilwell. There's been links to the likes of Tagliafico, that's gone down a little bit of late. I would definitely consider him. He's a great defender, he's decent going forward, he gives you really good balance on the pitch. I think he's a great left back, and he's very cheap as well, you know, about 25 million. Tagliafico for me would be a great option. Another one I've spoken about recently was Reguilón, and there may be another few names such as him, but these are great younger players for me. Well, not younger than Chil necessarily, but for me they've got more potential. For me they have probably even been performing better, I would certainly say, and I rate Chilwell. I think he's a solid left back, but you know, the England tax almost, as you could call it in the Premier League. Why is Chilwell, you know, near 80 million and Reguilón and Tagliafico are under 30? For me, this is a no-brainer for Chelsea. I'd go for one of the lower ones, I really would, in terms of price, and I think the ability is probably better. Let's move on to the centre-back position, because this is really, really interesting. Chelsea, for me, have to sign a centre-back, and we spoke about the fact that probably one or two of our defenders will actually leave in the heart of defence, but let's speak about the first link, that's Declan Rice. Whether he'll play in midfield or defence, we don't know. I'd imagine if Jorginho doesn't leave, there's not really a spot for him in midfield unless Jorginho gets completely axed out, which for me would just be harsh. You know, if you're going to not play him, just sell him, get the money off Juve. But if Declan Rice comes in, I've heard he wants to be a centre-back, or not wants to be, but that's where Lampard wants him, or that's the idea anyway. But for me, either way, the signing of Declan Rice is something we should actually prioritise. I think he's a great leader. I think he's one of the futures of English football, and someone who I actually didn't rate that massively, probably about a year ago now. He's someone who I really, really like now, would love at Chelsea. For me, it's a no-brainer, and you're talking about spending big money for Chilwell. I'd put that aside and spend 30 on Onana, 25 on Tagliafico or Reguilón, and spend the 60 or 70 on someone like Declan Rice. For me, that benefits us massively. He can play centre-back, he can play midfield, and that works as a brilliant transfer. West Ham, they won't let him go easily, similar to the fact that Leicester won't let Chilwell go easily. But for Rice, let's push West Ham, let's give them a lot of money. Let's bring Rice to Chelsea. And say we do buy Rice to bring him in midfield, or say we don't even buy Rice full stop, then you'd think Chelsea would be in the market for another centre-back. I think Chelsea are working quietly here to bring in a world-class centre-back to the club. Look, we could be seeing someone like Jimenez, Skriniar, maybe even Koulibaly, where we've spoken about how much money Chelsea have. And I think we could be bringing a big centre-back this summer. It's just something I've got a feeling about. Maybe Rice is that man. If he's not though, guys, and maybe he comes in anyway, but maybe he doesn't, I think a big name could be brought in at the heart of defence by Roman Abramovich. Then let's move on to the main man, guys, Kai Havertz. Look, the deal's kind of stalled right now. I think it'll resume slowly. I just say be patient to you Chelsea fans. You know, I think this deal will come over the line, but it's just taking a bit of time right now to agree on the price with Leverkusen, agree on a few details, and we'll just wait to get the best deal possible, I think, on this one. We just got to be careful no one sneaks in ahead of us, but I think we're clear front runners, like we mentioned earlier. No one can really challenge Chelsea right now in the transfer market. And Kai Havertz, guys, it's so exciting, but he's so close to Chelsea. Around 80 million I'd expect, but this could have add-ons on it. You know, the deal could get to around £100 million. And finally, guys, I wanted to add in one last player here, Said Benrahma. This one's quite an interesting one. As I'm recording this, Brentford haven't played the final against Fulham. I've heard of, say they lose to Fulham and stay in the Championship, Benrahma to Chelsea will be quite easy to pick up. If they go up though, if we want him, we may have to be paying, you know, about 35 million. I don't know. I don't really know about his price. I put 25 million down because I think that's a good estimate. But for me, when I think about it, I think we need Benrahma next season. I really do. If we're losing Willian and Pedro, if we've got Hudson-Odoi breeding through, we've got, you know, Ziyech coming in, of course, but then we've only got Pulisic left, of course, who's, you know, seems quite injury prone at the moment, unfortunately, but that will certainly adapt in the future. But either way, for me, you need four wingers really, and Benrahma for me would be that third or fourth option really, behind the likes of Ziyech and Pulisic. Him and Hudson-Odoi can be almost as sub players, but with how Chelsea get injured, and we've seen that all this season, we need depth, and Benrahma for me would be a great pickup, really cheap, a top player in English football already. I think it'd be a great signing. So that's where I'm going to end this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I wanted to make a video basically discussing the Chelsea transfer window, a little bit different to the Barcelona one, because Chelsea, like I say, are already on a really good path. We're already going really well so far, and it's all about can we set a few players basically to make some more room in the squad. You know, I'm looking at Barkley. Can he be sold? Because if he can, then we can just bring Havertz in. You know, you look up front, once Willian and Pedro go, Benrahma will come in. Kepa, if he goes, maybe even if he stays, Onana can come in. And then at left back, like I say, Emerson or Alonso surely have to go for someone like Tagliafico, Chilwell or Reguilón to come in. It's same at centre back really, and where does Declan Rice fit in this team? I don't really know yet, but that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Goodbye.